Just a robot.
America the Motion Picture is an alright movie. I will say I like the second half much more than the first half, but what I'm here for is the power scaling. Me and my roommate got into the movie and started discussing it. Eventually, we started talking about which character could beat which character. So I wanted to make this video not only to start a power scaling discussion, but also to give room to new people that I want to join in on the community and understand how it works. Let's start with the horse of Paul Revere. Early on, it's revealed that he's far superior to other horses, being able to outspeed them with a fully armored knight on his back. Here you can see he can swim faster than any horse should be able to, and Paul Revere's horse can even run at full speed with 4 people on his back. All of this is nothing compared to what was needed to kill him. A bomb goes off that could destroy an entire building, in the horse's mouth. A bomb like that should have turned the horse into jam, but it only destroyed his head. Later on in the movie, Paul fuses with his horse, becoming a centaur RoboCop. While this shows how powerful Paul and his horse is, this is where we get into the meat of power scaling. Benedict Arnold in his second werewolf form, yes, Benedict Arnold is a werewolf, moving on. Benedict is held down by Paul, and we already said how powerful he was, but he was also held down by Geronimo, with only 1 arm, implying he was actually much stronger when he had 2 arms, placing him just above Paul Revere. On top of that, Benedict Arnold was being shocked by female Asian Thomas Edison's gloves. Yes, there's a female Thomas Edison, just roll with it. The electric shocks can instantly kill several British soldiers at the same time. On top of all of this, Arnold's first werewolf form was able to kill the giant blue bull of Paul Bunyan. I wonder if Perennial was based off of Paul Bunyan. The bull scales to Paul Bunyan, who was slain by the giant transforming clock of Big Ben. Yes, Big Ben is a transformer. This movie was fucking weird. Despite all of this, Benedict was able to take down all of the Founding Fathers. Well, that is the Founding Fathers in this universe. However, George Washington was able to fend him off and held him down by himself, heavily implying that George is the strongest Founding Father of all. It's also implied that Benedict can only be killed by a silver weapon. But this would be a no-limits fallacy, a term in the Versus community that's based off the proof by example fallacy. The no-limits fallacy is when someone says that an attribute or feature is without limits. An example of this would be if I said Benedict could only be killed by a silver weapon, including if an omnipotent god smited him. Obviously, we don't have anything anywhere near close to building level with George Washington, but comparing him to Paul Revere's horse, to Cyborg RoboCop Paul Revere, who logically should be way above his, basic horse form, I think it's safe to say that George Washington is somewhere in the ballpark of building level. Also, often when someone says blank is this level, they're not always talking about their attack potential, they also could be talking about their durability, which are often linked to one another. Basically, it's hard to scale George Washington on his own, but if you scale him to other characters such as Paul Revere's horse, who only lost his head when a building-sized bomb went off in his mouth, and Cyborg RoboCop Paul Revere wasn't as strong as werewolf Benedict Arnold, and George Washington was able to hold him down by himself, then logically George Washington should scale above Paul Revere's horse. But this is just strength. What about intelligence? Well, intelligence is a lot harder to scale. Usually there's only 1 smart character per series. Thomas Edison is obviously the main one of note, as she was able to create rocket boots, gloves that can instantly kill people with electricity, and she can even convert the mind-altering tea of the British into Americanized beer. There's also smaller details, such as George Washington's wife taking the longest to turn back into American after the beer starts raining. But that's borderline featless, it doesn't really mean anything. And considering she was able to defeat George Washington, who was holding back by the way, it seems that the beer and tea take longer to work on stronger opponents. I mostly made this video to show people who don't know or don't understand what power scaling is. If there are any details I left out, or if you have done some calcs yourself, feel free to share them in the comments section down below. And also, feel free to tell me what you guys think of America the Motion Picture 2. I'm working on this series to help explain exactly what power scaling is, starting with a very small, inconsequential verse that is not too toxic. Don't even get me started on the drama that Bleach, Sonic, and Dragon Ball Z fans get up to. But the next verse I will be talking about will be on a whole nother level than this one.